I will just start by giving you all some feedback on areas that I can give marks. So this happens to this morning's group as well. The first one is attire. So in terms of attire, everybody synchronized their color. Of course, usually it's actually dark blue, but it's still under the same shades. So I'm giving you all a 75% score out of 100% for the attire category.
Is there any chance to get higher?
You don't have code.
What?
Yeah, that's correct. Some of you with code, some of you without code in this case.
But is it better to be like all without codes, or if you guys want codes, all with?
Well, I don't know. It's up to you all to actually make a decision on that. PowerPoint presentation, please. Let's take a look at the PowerPoint presentation. We just scroll a little bit in this case. PowerPoint presentation, all right, real good. Moved on a little bit. Move on. Yeah. Okay. Move on. Yeah. Move on. Yeah. Okay. Move on. Yeah. Move on. All right. Thank you so much in this case. Yeah. First thing that I wanted to say is there are different font sizes in all the slides. So sometimes it's actually huge fonts, sometimes it's actually smaller. If you take a look at this is smaller, then big again. So font sizes in this case can be actually a little bit more consistent across the different slides over there. The other thing that I also wanted to say is if we can just move on a few slides before, just slow down a little bit. Hang on, yeah. Is this OECD or is it OEC?
OEC.
OEC in this case, which stands for?
The website is called OEC.
Oh, so what's the full name of that particular website then?
Wait.
It's in your reference list, am I right? Your reference is not arranged in alphabetical order.
OEC.world/en.
So it's oec.world.
/e.
Can you click on it in this case? Mr. Yi is interested in the link a little bit. Is it clickable? No. Yeah, copy paste. OEC
Is it correct?
looks good. Alright, thank you so much. I've not actually sort of like come to this particular website. Thank you. So real good. Just confirming here.
Alright.
Next thing in this case is also wanted to check one particular slide over there.
Which
yeah, just open this up. Just cross to the next one. There is no source for this one. I think you've forgotten to put. And next on the list, there's no. This is demographic growth. There's no source for this particular chart. So to take note. Then what else do we have? No source for this. I think has disappeared. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Is this for the graph or the what? Yeah, that's real good.
That's
Which one?
the graph I did it myself.
So which means where does this data come from?
Statista.
So the graph also comes from Statista. The information is it?
The information comes from Statista.
You
Then I make
need,
the graph.
yeah, you need to actually say that the data actually comes from Statista. Okay, so I think the source needs to be actually provided here. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we have got some figure over here in this case with some sources that have been mentioned. That's real good. No issue. Alright, thank you so much. I think overall consistency in terms of your font sizes can be actually improved. That's what I wanted to say lah, and your referencing itself. So in terms of the marks in this case, not the best that I would be actually providing because I've actually seen so much better present sites as compared to you all. So you'll be getting roughly about 50% range of the marks itself. Yeah, roughly about 50% to be decided and finalized later. Thank you so much. You all can start presenting right now. If you are ready, just let Mr. Yi know. I will do the countdown in terms of the time.
Yes, it's recording. Yeah, we're ready. Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Yi.
Yeah.
We are group 1, and I'm Yu Leong. And my groupmates are User, Sunan, Brandon, and Faris. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So, first part is introduction to agricultural trade. But before we talk about agricultural trade, I want to talk about agriculture first. So, agriculture is art, science, technique, and skill of cultivating soil, growing crops, and raising livestock from 10,000 to 10,000 years ago. And some examples of the agricultural products are wheat, rice, cows, and sheep. Next slide, please. So let's move to the agricultural trade. So agricultural trade is the dependence of trading agricultural or food commodities to supplement and complement domestic consumption. And the picture beside are some example of products used in agricultural trade. So in palm oil is very common product to be used in agricultural trade in Malaysia and Indonesia, and also rice is numerous in Asian countries. I'll pass to the next presenter.
Okay. So after coming to this part, so what are the importances and contributions of the agricultural sector to ASEAN in general? So from this slide, we can conclude that the contribution and importances are GDP contribution to the economy, which leads to creation of jobs in the form of employment, and also it has generated tax revenue for the government, and also has made trade concessions for other countries. So for example, in Thailand, it is about 100 billion US dollars, which is actually 25% of the Thai's GDP, or the gross domestic product, which leads to job creation. 48% of Thais are employed in the agricultural sector, which has generated jobs. This has also generated 22.6 billion in terms of tax revenue for the Thai government, which also leads to trade position of 21 billion surplus for Thailand. In Indonesia, it's about 304 billion in terms of the agricultural sector's growth contribution to Indonesia, 35% of its total GDP, and almost half of jobs in the economy, or one in every two, are attributed to agricultural sector. They have generated 47.2 billion in terms of tax revenue for the Indonesian economy, and they have a surplus of 14.4 billion from their economy. So what does this mean actually? So it means that it has contributed to a very big portion of this economy, and it has also created jobs, like for example farmers, you have fishermen, you have what's that? Anyone that grows crops in the country anyway. And tax revenue, because governments have to tax their products, and they maybe grab some foreign imports, which means to generate tax for the nation, and for trade procedure, they have a surplus. So next slide, please. Okay. So however, there are two main challenges of the agricultural sector for ASEAN countries. Firstly, are demographic shifts. Well, according to the Asian Development Bank, developing economies which are becoming wealthier by the day means that more younger generations, those of the younger generations, are less likely to seek work in the agricultural sector. They prefer to move away from villages or places and rural areas where most of the agricultural sector is based in, to cities where they prefer a more profitable urban life. So meaning there will be less workers for the agricultural sector. It means that an aging workforce, meaning the average farmer is quite old actually in those countries, and there will be less workers supporting the agricultural sector. Another challenge that is facing the agricultural sector within ASEAN is climate change. Climate change has actually wreaked a big havoc on the agricultural sector. So volatile weather patterns actually will cause insufficient crop yields, which leads to volatile crops. So sometimes it leads to high prices and insufficient crops, which can affect self-sufficiency and as well as resilience in terms of food supplies for people in ASEAN. So I'll be passing out to Sunao for content 1.
Alright guys, I'm Sunan. So for content 1, we'll be talking about the current situation in Southeast Asia. So first I'll be talking about the import and export ratio. As you can see here, we have Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. These are the 3 countries we focus on for their import and export ratio and population and agricultural growth. First, we have the values of Indonesia, which comes into the export values is 4.13 million USD, when imports is around 254 million USD. So the import-export ratio, you can tell before I even show you it, there's a huge difference. So after calculating it, it shows to be 61.5. Then we have Malaysia, where their export value is around 41.6 million, and import is around 583 million. Including that, their ratio is around 14.01. And there's Thailand, which is a huge difference from other 2 countries, showing that their export value is around 3.48 billion, and import is a lot less, which is $12 million, equaling their ratio into 0.0034. So overall, the Asian countries exhibit a mixed level of sustainability in their export and import ratio. While some member states maintain a sustainable trade balance, others relies heavily on import for certain commodities. Sustainability depends on factors such as economic strategies, trade diversification, and regional cooperation. Asian community commitment to addressing these challenges and promoting trade resilience contributes to overall sustainability. Next. And these are the rice value for the 3 countries that we focus on. As you can see, from 2019, the blue color is Thailand, red is Indonesia, orange is Malaysia. So as you can see, there's a huge difference compared to all these 3. And you can see the least is Thailand, and we have Indonesia in the middle, which stayed consistent through 2019, 2020, and 2021, where Malaysia's went up a bit but slowed down slightly. Then for export is the other way around as well. So for Thailand, we have around 0. For Thailand, you can see for 2019 they are all slightly the same. Then for 2020, Malaysia went up by a lot, and slightly went down a bit in 2021, while Thailand and Indonesia still slightly remain the same. And these are the import and export ratio, like I explained before. So as you can see, Thailand, they are a strong net exporter of rice because they export a lot more than they import. And for Malaysia, they are is kind of in the middle where they import a lot as well as they export. And for Indonesia, their import is a lot more than their export, which shows they really rely on export to survive, to sustain their country. Next. And after that, I'll be showing the population growth and the agricultural growth. As you can see, from the beginning, I'll explain what is population growth, which is increase in the number of people living in a certain area, constrain resources like food, water, and land. And lastly, is demand more food, housing, healthcare, and education. After that, I'll be explaining agricultural growth, which is improvement in agricultural output and efficiency. involves higher crop yields, livestock production, and technology. The last is vital for meeting the food needs of a growing population. As you can see here, there's a demographic growth of showing the Asian countries, which is all included inside. And this is a chart of the 3 countries that we focus on. It shows the population growth and the agricultural growth. First, as you can see, for the population growth, Malaysia is still the highest, which is staying quite consistent, above 1%, and where Indonesia is slightly getting slower by the years. Their percentage is decreasing, and Thailand staying consistent as well, going down slightly, but coming back up slowly. Then for agricultural growth, Malaysia's percentage is getting higher every year, where Thailand is slightly staying consistent. At the beginning, they're quite low, but increasing 2020 and 2021 is still the same. And Indonesia is like getting slower and slower for the agricultural growth, but you can tell, like compared to each other, population growth for Indonesia population growth is getting higher while the agricultural growth is not. So this can be a huge problem for them. And these corporations suggest that in the year 2021, both Malaysia and Thailand were able to achieve significant growth in rice production that exceeded their respective population growth rates. In contrast, Indonesia experienced a small decrease in rice production relative to its population growth rate. And that's it for my part. I'll pass to Faris.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Faris. So this is my part, climate change impacts on agriculture trade in ASEAN. So we focus on 3 countries, which is first is Malaysia, second is Thailand, and Indonesia. So the first one is Malaysia, which is the production of rice will be decreased by 12% on the main season and 31.3% in the off-season as temperature increase and change of precipitation in Malaysia. So we can see here from year 2020, the ratio of rainfall is probably 0.3 centimeters and 0.85 and 1.4. And then in the year 2040, the ratio of rainfall, the temperature is probably going up by 33%. And then in the year 2060, the variation of rainfall and variation of temperature probably went up to 32% in the year 2060. So from this figure, you can see that it will affect the rice production in Malaysia. So the second one is Thailand. Meanwhile, in Thailand, use of rice and maize are projected to decline as much as 57 and 44%. It's because of rice growth under rain condition is found to be highly vulnerable because of highest rainfall are August and September, with approximately 255 millimeter recorded during this month. So we can see from here, from this graph, this one shows that the mean rainfall in Thailand. So, it shows that it can go like around until 3,000 millimeters of rainfall. So the last one is Indonesia. Indonesia harmed by long-term climate because of influenced by annual and inter-annual variations in rainfall caused by the Australia, Asia monsoon and El Nino southern oscillation. So we can see from here West Central Java, South Sumatra, Central Sumatra and South Sulawesi, and even East Java, which is in Bali. We can see that all of these are affected by the rainfall and the El Nino southern oscillation. So go to the next one. Are ASEAN countries resilient in agriculture sector? So from this overall, it is resilient. From this import and export ratio is very high, which is 61.5% compared to Malaysia and Thailand. And second of all, is population growth versus agriculture growth. Both of this is certainly meeting demands because the population in overall ASEAN countries is increasing. So with the demands of rice. So for climate change in ASEAN countries is getting bad is because of the rise of extreme climate change. To conclude that it's not resilient is because due to the fact that extreme climate change can affect the volatility of rice production. So I pass on to Brendan.
Thank you, Faris. So based on what we present, we have came to a conclusion that it is better to trade less with other nations. So I'll begin with with my first ideal form of globalization for agricultural trade. The first one will be greater integration with Asia. 90% of the world's supply of palm oil is produced in Indonesia and Malaysia, which are the biggest producers in the Asia Pacific area. This flexible commodity, which is exported by Indonesia in about 80 million tons annually, is used to make everything from soaps, detergents, cosmetics, and ethanol to vegetable oil for cereal items, crisps, and sweets. The author claims that the whole value of agro-based exports climbed from USD 11.8 billion to almost USD 40 billion between 2003 and 2010, which is a rise of 3 times. Up to 13.5% of GDP was supplied by the manufacture and processing of food. Based on data presented at the 2013 Asian EU Business Summit held in Hanoi, Vietnam, agro-food sales make up 70% of Vietnam's overall exports, 14% of Indonesia's, and 14% of Thailand's total exports. Food exports from that amount to over US 30 billion annually, with US 6 billion of that amount going to other Asian regions. Okay. Move on to the next slide. It's missing. Two slides missing. Good? That's all for my part.
Just all?
Yeah, that's all.
That's all, Alright, thank you so much in this case.
Thank you, sir.
The time is actually 15 minutes. So it's way below even 20 minutes. So as I told you all, anything less than 2 minutes in this case is considered to be poor dimension. During the class itself, I did mention this.
Right.
What is this? You want to say something?
No. I think we're missing 2 slides. What? Because this is what's missing? It's not there.
Sorry, this is a wrong. Oh, yeah.
So we will continue. We are very sorry, but we opened the wrong file.
But the one that you sent on Thursday is this.
But
It's okay.
We can still present with this.
You can send the new one to Thursday, please. Please continue.
Okay. Move. Oh, you know. Start. Next, yeah. Okay. Sorry about the errors now. I'll proceed with economic integration. The first point is export controls. Asian member nations can implement export controls on certain goods and technologies to restrict their availability to non-member nations. This applies to other fields as well, like such as military equipment, weapons. They have the export controls, like what if it falls to the hands of people with bad intentions? So it applies somewhere else too. The second point, monitoring and compliance. Asian can establish mechanisms to monitor and ensure compliance with trade restrictions to prevent circumvention by external trade partners. Move on to the next slide. Okay. Here is the figure that shows that the role of agriculture its share can be measured within export and import, as you can see on figure 2. So we'll start with Myanmar. By looking at the export side, Myanmar has the highest, which is 24.3%, followed by Indonesia, 19.2%. And next, which is Vietnam, 15%. And I think Malaysia, we have a low value here, which is 1.2%. By looking at the import side, we have we have the lowest percentage, which is Singapore, which only stands below 5%, and that's all from the presentation.
Yeah, it is still less than 20 minutes. It's 18 minutes and 11 seconds. So just to show everybody, 18. So the time given in this case is 18. Alright, thank you so much. You can go to the front over there. So that this session is actually sort of recorded as well. Okay, so let's start with the first question where everybody needs to answer. If you were to rate this particular overall presentation, how many marks would you actually give and why? So everybody must give the answer. You are going to rate the whole presentation, not your part. It's in general the whole thing. How many marks would you give and why? Yeah, let's start from, usually I'm going to put you the last. Let's start with the others first. Anybody would like to volunteer? Yeah, but yeah. The marks in this case is somewhere from 1 to 10. So the 10 in this case represents 100%, 90% in this case. Alright, good. Yeah, come, you know.
For me, I will rate the overall presentation about 5 to 6, around 5 to 7, somewhere in the range of. Because I think that we
5 to 7 or 5 to 6?
5 to 7, okay, 5 to 7. Because I think that we didn't manage our time well, and it will like reduce our marks, and also some technical problem.
Very good.
And overall, our presenting I think is fluent and it's fine for our presenting. Just some mistake that causes some marks.
So
That's
which
all for
means,
me.
do you think you should be entitled for 7?
5 to 7, I would say that 5 to 7.
But since you give me 5 to 7 in this case, which means 7 is a possibility that you would like to propose.
Okay, then I'll make it on the center 6.
6, Why should I give 6, not 5?
I think our effort should be valued at 6.
How do you demonstrate the effort?
We didn't look at our phone. We actually do some preparation before we present, and we actually talk our points by our own words. I think that should be a 6, in my opinion.
Did you refer to the slides when you were telling me what's happening in class? I mean, when you're doing the presentation?
Yeah,
Although
sure.
Yeah, so you didn't look at the phone, but you look at the slides,
But not fully but because we cannot memorize everything, just refer,
Thank you, William. Next.
I won't give ourselves a mark first, but let's start from, if this was a perfect presentation, it would be 10 points, right?
Yes.
So let's slowly deduct everything by what we did wrong and what we did that was not great. So we got the wrong slides, so that's
Okay.
-1, that's
Yeah.
9 left.
Yeah.
And we actually, like, as you can know, if we can put on the wrong slide, maybe the preparedness wasn't that great as well. So let's take another 1 off, which leaves us with 8.
Okay.
And time, I feel like time, that's very important. But I want to take 2 off, but I feel like we still got all our data out, we still present all that we need to present, but our time management was poor, so I'll say we take another 1 off, so with 7. And lastly, I said we look at the slides and everything, that should be a 1 more point off, so 6 in the end. For me, in my opinion, that's 6. I mean, I see better presentation, and I know, in my opinion, in my head, this is not our best performance. I feel like we could do a lot better.
How would you rate your own content then, or the content of this particular group?
What do you mean by content?
Do you think the content is actually sort of like sufficient enough? Would you rate your content to be actually sort of like excellent?
It's not excellent, but More than enough, I guess.
Would you deduct your 1 marks over there in this case? Or?
For if you like suggesting slides, I feel like slides also we can do better. Like for a lot of the graphs and all, there was
Content, Sunan?
content. It was not the best. But still, we still got all our information in, and it's still, I'll give it a satisfactory.
So which is not really the best.
Not really the best.
Thank you so much. Faris, please.
So I'll give it a 6. I mean, from poor time management, that one is 1. Then the second one, probably the wrong files, which is that was supposed to happen. So then that's all.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
For me, I would give 5.
Okay.
Because I think the most bad mistake was the foul, and we sent in the wrong foul terminate. But overall, it's like, for me, it's like the balance we did. Like, I would say presentation wise, which gave us 5 marks. That's the part. And the bad part was we would rely mostly on the slides. And for myself, I wasn't confident. I did starter, so I wouldn't give my other, like for my teammates what they say it's more enough.
Thanks so much. So on average, which means everybody is actually looking at the majority in this case, then I would say there's about 6 and 5 in this case. So can I say so? It's about 6 and 5 range. Yeah. Okay. So Ilang is a 6 and 5. So it's a majority in this case. I'm now going to tell you why I might not give you 6, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to give you 5, or it could be even lower. So let's open up the slides right now, and I will tell you what's happening to your group's presentation. Yeah? Okay? So you will see whether you agree with me at the end of the day. We can still bargain. Thank you so much. In this case, introduction to agriculture trade. What I wanted to say in this case is, you know your part is underperformed because you only handle 2 slides. The 2 slides that you handle in this case, can I just say so? This is the first thing. And the second slide that you actually handled is, let's move to the next slide, which is this. Generally, there's not much content. Personally, I can finish presenting this thing without even have got to be over there for 1 minute.
Totally agree.
Yes, thank you so much, Yula. Let's cross over to the next thing. Yuzhi, thank you so much for sort of like highlighting the importance itself. Well, as I told you in this case, you can actually talk about the importance using this particular graph. And I think you maintain this graph and combine a lot of things that previously that you put in the slide into here. But Yuzhi, something that I actually wanted to say is, since you're talking about the importance of contribution to agriculture trade in ASEAN, personally, I feel that there are so many other countries that you can actually use to look for information. So for you to just rely on Thailand and Indonesia in this case, it seems to be a very underestimated of the research that you all are doing. So can I say that the content can really be improved over there? Very good. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next one. Now, over here at this particular slide over here, you all talk about demographic shifts and climate change. Now, compared to some other groups in this case, you would say that, yeah, indeed, you are not really the best in this case. But then, there is no depth. There is no further statistics to show me what's happening to this particular statement. Which means it doesn't actually signal a lot of, intention to actually sort of like have this done in a proper way. I would say you could have actually say what is the percentage of people who migrated from the rural to the urban areas to back you up on the first point. And the second point in this case, the climate change itself, you could be actually sort of like putting down the temperature over in the ASEAN region. What is the temperature increase overall to be sort of like elaborated further over here. So that lacks depth. You only look at the sentence and that's basically it. Can you understand? So, all right, good. So let's move on to the next one. So now I would like to give a little bit of comments. Is this the old slides? Because I think this has changed a little bit.
This is that's just now the slides. It was not the final one.
But this one is not the final one, am I right? So which means the final one is going to be a little bit different from this one. Yes or no? Because the two I
Yeah.
saw the export. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you please call back the earlier one in this case, which is incomplete? I want you all to actually tell me something in this case. Yeah, if you don't mind. Let's call back that one. Okay, so just go up a little bit more. Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, stop over here, please. Go to the next one. Can you please watch carefully? What's your rice export value for Malaysia? Look at the chart, Sunan. For 2020, can you tell me the value?
Close to 50 billion.
Billion?
Yeah.
Billion. Do we export so much?
No.
Thank you so much. I'm done. The accuracy of the data in this case has actually sort of like a lot of issues over there. And by the way, in this case, if I look at the charts that's actually shown, can we just go back to the chart over there? Previous one. Do you think it's better for us to actually show Thailand import-export together side by side than Indonesia import-export together side by side? Do you think it's a better presentation over there? If you show them side by side, import-export for Thailand, import-export for Indonesia, import-export for Malaysia. Don't you think it's a better comparison over there? Yeah. I don't want to sound as if that I am complaining or what. You can be doing business presentation for your future, potential customers in this case. And no better talk. This is going to screw up your business. It's not to say that I don't teach anything. It's not to say that I don't give you all feedback. But I think it's important for you to, if this is your actual presentation for business, and you're really doing this, that's the end. Am I right? I can't see your comparison. It's actually a very bad chart. So your choice of charts in this case, they are actually not used very properly in this case. With so many years of learning in the ET program itself, I think this needs a little bit improvement. Thank you so much. Let's move on to the next slide. Import-export ratio in this case, there's no source over here. I suppose as what I told you in this case, yeah. Now, I wanted to say this. How different is this particular slide compared to the previous one? Can we go to the previous one? And the previous one. Now, did you notice that on this particular slide, you put down export-import, and you calculated the ratio. You go to the next slide, import-export again, and you calculated the ratio. A lot of stuff are actually like repeating inside your PowerPoint presentation. They could have actually been used to talk about the other measurements to check for self-sufficiency. So overall, in this case, I think in terms of content, you all didn't actually sort of like fully utilize. So if you say it's satisfactory, I disagree. It's below satisfactory. Am I right or not? Yeah. Let's go to the next one. Did I say the wrong thing?
I totally agree.
Yes, thank you so much. So the next one is population growth versus agricultural growth. Let's go to the next page. And again, I think the same problem actually happens over here, yeah? So population growth and the agricultural growth, because you want to compare these two, to actually check out and see whether the country is self-sufficient or not self-sufficient. Now, the data is different values, yeah? Did you notice? One is 2.55, 7.5. The other one is 0.25, 0.1, 0.75. So the height doesn't represent that it's actually bigger, yeah? Yes or no? Yeah. So you have to be very careful when you provide conclusions on this particular chart. And I think there are some incorrect statements being actually made over here. Thank you so much. Let's go to the next one. This is sort of like your contribution over there in this case. You have selected a few stuff over there in this case. In terms of the attractiveness of this particular slide, it's not really the best. I would say that this lacks lighting, and I think the slides can be actually made better. What's happening over here in this case is I don't see a lot of impact on the rise. Oh yes, the first statement is actually on the rise. Second one is actually on the rise a little bit, but nothing has actually been talked about Indonesia, what's going to happen to the rice production. So I think that one is actually sort of missing here. Okay, let's move on to the next one. You all are blocking the recording in this case, yeah. Okay, all right. Now let's move on to the next one in this case. I would like to, can we just read this particular sentence together? Secondly, of all is population growth versus agricultural growth. Both of this is certainly meeting demands because the population overall is increasing. So with the demands of the rise. Can you tell me what's the meaning of this sentence?
So it is when population goes up, then the demand for the rice also goes up. No, it means that when the population goes up, then the rice also goes up.
But do you have enough rice then? I know that you have more population, people will eat more, but then do you have enough? What's the meaning of this? I am not too sure. So I find it actually a little bit difficult for me to digest. Because you all are degree students. How can you actually come up with this conclusion to say that there is sufficient rice because there is higher population right now? I am able to certainly meet demand because overall the population is higher with the demand of rice. Sunan, you tell me.
I think that's right. The sentence makes no sense.
Thank you so much.
Because it says like the agricultural growth and population growth are both meeting demands, but it ends with the population is increasing, so is the demand for rice, which means there's not enough rice. Therefore the demand for rice increases. It didn't say anything in the end.
I didn't actually know what's happening to the supply of rice. So I only know that population increases. So if you say that we meet the demands because there's more population right now, it looks like the sentence is actually a little bit strange to me. So please check your work. I don't think it's actually sort of like very satisfactory over here. Let's go to the last two pages. I want to ask, basically, what is your proposal in this case? Greater integration with ASEAN. Your meaning is what? What are you trying to say over here? Do you know what the question is actually asking you in the first place?
The meaning here is it's about joining together.
So can you please explain to me the question in this case? What does the question actually want you to do?
Recommend your ideal form of globalization for agricultural trade.
And what does that mean in this case? What does the question actually want from you in this case, Brendan?
Ways to get more countries into the agricultural trade.
No, I just want you to interpret the question first before we actually sort of like talk about the answer.
Is it like find a way to globalize agricultural trade?
So what does that mean?
To get more countries
More countries to do what?
into the agricultural trade market.
Find a way to get more countries to
Yes.
get into the agriculture trade. Is that what you want to sort of like say? So tell me the way that you can find more countries to get into agriculture trade. Is that what you're trying to say? Is that the interpretation of the question?
Yeah, because it says globalization.
So tell me the ways to get more countries to come into the agriculture trade. Is that what it means?
Yes.
No, actually no. So there's a misinterpretation of that particular question over here. Globalization for agriculture trade, that means you actually allow your trade to reach to the global market. That's true. But what is the ideal form of globalization? How far do you want to reach? How far do you want to expand your agriculture trade? Do you want your agriculture trade to spread throughout the whole world? Or do you want your agriculture trade just to be a little bit more region-based? You don't want to go too far, you just want to be a little bit more closer to you? Or you want your agriculture trade to be a little bit more increased with China, a particular country? I think that's the one that I actually tell the students to look at during the class. So, no, the answers don't fit. Yeah, especially the last slides. The last two slides in this case, it didn't really help you much. Very sorry, I think. Overall, thank you so much. That is my feedback so far. Can you please go back to the front over there? And Mr. Yi is actually going to ask one more round again. Can you please, after listening to my sort of like feedback over there, what do you think is actually the ideal marks to give to the whole group? Let's start from you, Leon. Your marks is?
4 to 5.
Very good. Thank you so much. Fabrice? Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Use it?
30.
Sorry?
30.
30.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for that explanation over there, for that reflection in this case. We will stop the feedback. I think that's about all, and I'll give you further instructions as to what to do, what to upload, and so on and so forth. And we can stop the recording. And please go back to the front again.